Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and I thank you for joining me for another episode. This week, we're going to be talking about more operational stuff and how to run your business type information. And to help me with that, I have Katie Salmon of Katie Does Marketing. And we'll jump right into it shortly. But Katie, thank you so much for being my guest and welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm really excited to chat.
I am too, because most everyone who listens to the podcast sells on Etsy, and so we have that we're taking care of. But one of the things that we need to do as creative business owners is marketing. And with the way the world is today, digital marketing is something we need to all get a handle of. And so I'm glad to have you on the podcast, because I want this other sellers who are listening to learn just about what digital marketing is, what place it should have in our, in what we're doing as small business owners. And so I'm so glad to have you on to help educate us and teach us more. But before we jump right into that, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I'm Katie Salmon, and I live in Athens, Georgia, and I am a marketing strategist for shop owners and makers. So in short, I help people sell their stuff. And I've been in love with the business of selling since I was a little kid. I started my first business venture when I was like 12. I spent an entire summer embellishing flip-flops to sell to all the neighborhood ladies because I was trying to raise money to buy my first sewing machine. So I really thought I was going to be on Project Runway. I was going to be America's next great fashion designer. I even went to college at the University of Georgia to study fashion merchandising. But it wasn't long into my college career, like first semester, when I discovered I would be a horrible fashion designer. I am not artistic at all, but I am really creative. And where my creativity really took flight was in marketing class. I just fell in love with thinking about how do you get the right product in front of the right person at the right time with the right message to make a sale. And I just love thinking through all those pieces. And so I added a degree in marketing, and after school started a traditional 9-to-5 career in digital marketing for a nonprofit, where I did email marketing and social media and lead generation and website development and things like that. But it wasn't long into that I heard the siren call of being an entrepreneur. And I know that you and your listeners know exactly what I'm talking about. I just long to get out of a cubicle, and I wanted to have more flexibility with my time and with my work. And so I started Katie Does Marketing a couple years ago to help other people sell their stuff. And so today, like I said, I serve shop owners and makers, and I do that through a coaching service where I help people get the tools and strategies they need to do their marketing themselves. And then also for shop owners that are ready for it, I offer a freelance service. So for people who are ready just to outsource marketing and they want to bring someone in like me to do it for them, I do that as well. And so I love what I get to do, and I love helping people, create a sustainable business that they're proud of. Because, I mean, as you know, like getting a good product to market is just half the battle. You have to get that in front of the right person to make a sale so that you can keep doing what you love. And so I, count it a blessing and a privilege to be able to help people do that every day.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Now, you hit on three things that we've talked about on the podcast that I know I struggle with, and other sellers do. And these are things that we as business owners need to handle, but sometimes we just kind of let flounder on the back burner. One was email marketing, and then social media marketing, and then you also mentioned digital marketing. One of the things I like that you said is that, first of all, you empower business owners to do it on our own
before
we get to the point where it becomes something that we either need to outsource, or we're able to outsource so we can focus on other things. What's the first, for that person listening who has an Etsy shop and maybe their own independent e-commerce website, when it comes to marketing, where would you advise him to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think the no-brainer, easiest point of entry is to have, a strong Instagram presence. Especially Instagram stories. Statistics are showing that people are spending more time watching Instagram stories than they are even just scrolling through their feed. And I love that, because Instagram stories, to me, there's so much less pressure for it to be beautiful or curated. It's casual, and it doesn't take a lot of time to get that content out into the world. Whereas, on your feed, you might spend some more time curating, a certain aesthetic and vibe. Stories are just quick and dirty. And I like that. And so I think that's so important, because for the Etsy seller, I'll tell a story. I was recently on Etsy. I was looking for a gift. And so Etsy is an amazing, powerful platform because it's a search engine. And I know that you teach your listeners on how to make the most of that to get their product seen in search, especially. But the thing about Etsy is they're not really your customers when they buy on Etsy. They're Etsy's customers. Yeah. And so I was recently looking for a gift. And it was very specific. It's my sister-in-law is a teacher, and the theme of her classroom is cactuses. So I wanted to get her a cactus clipboard that had her name on it. So how specific is that? Of course I knew, where am I going to find that? Etsy, that's definitely the place for that. And so I hopped on. There was maybe 15 to 20 listings of that. And so the next question I had to ask myself is, okay, how do I pick? And so the only way basically what I made my judgment on was product and price. That was it. And so when I looked around and I said, okay, the product is basically the same. All of these look really similar or similar enough. I chose the one that was the cheapest because, the quality seemed to be the same across the board. In fact, I had one in my cart, and then I got to the cart and it was going to be $7 to ship. And I thought, I wonder if one of these others might actually be a little cheaper to ship to me. And so I found one that was, and that's the one I chose. And so if you're an Etsy seller and hearing that might hurt your heart a little bit. But I think, that's just the harsh reality of being on a platform like Etsy or Amazon, or a platform that's not your own. You just have to, it's important to remember that the factors that people are judging you on is product and price. And often it's a race to the bottom. And that as an Etsy seller. So how does digital marketing come in? If I felt connected to one of those Etsy sellers, whether I followed her on Instagram and I felt like I knew her and knew the sound of her voice and what she looked like and what her creative process was, I would have paid the $7 for shipping because I felt like I knew her and I loved her and I had an affinity towards her, and she had a real brand. And so the power of being on Instagram or having, a marketing strategy in place in general is that you'll be able to build a brand so that people can build a relationship with you. So you go from just competing on price, which again is just a race to the bottom and not a race you want to be in, to, competing on your unique value proposition, which is you, and it's your brand. And so that's why I think it's important for people that are selling on platforms that are not their own to have a strong marketing presence.
Katie, actually, you just made a great point, which reminds me of a conversation that I had back in, I don't remember when it was that I had the actual conversation, but it was an episode that aired a few months ago. It was episode 236 with Rochelle Fitchett of Pacific Crest Silver. And I'm so sorry for anyone who gets tired of me mentioning Rochelle, but I mention her because she's doing exactly just what you described and doing it so well. She sells her products through Instagram. She does the stories every day. She has a new one, and she'll post a picture, but she does stories, just like you're saying. And every day she's getting the buyer. She has a whole process, and I'll link to episode 236 for anyone who wants to hear how she does it. And it just takes out the whole burden of relying on, like you said, the search algorithm and where you show up and when you show up and how you show up, and then competing with other people for, on price and on, shipping cost and whatnot. Because if somebody has connected with you outside of there and you've somehow you've convinced them to shop with you, once they get there, they're not going to be tempted to buy what you've already sold them, essentially sold. I mean, they're going to complete the checkout there. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I actually listened to that episode, so it's great that you brought it up. And yeah, that's a great example. And when somebody feels attached to their brand, just like, or to your brand, just like you said, things like price are still matter. I mean, price matters, and there's a strategy that should go into your pricing, but it matters less. And so I'll give kind of the flip example. So for Christmas, I asked for a Rifle Paper Company recipe box. I've wanted it. It's a strange thing, but I've wanted it for a long time. And the thing about Rifle Paper, if you're familiar with it, that their aesthetic has been ripped off and repeated a million times over. And in fact, when looking for my, picking out the color that I wanted, I found a box that was extremely similar that was half the price. But I wanted the Rifle one. And the Rifle one retails for like $32, $34. But I could have gotten one for $15, but I wanted the Rifle one because I like their brand, have an affinity for it. And I want, when somebody says, "Oh, that's cute," for me to be able to say, "Oh, that's a Rifle," And so that's what you get when you build a true brand and you're not just selling stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. That makes so much sense. Now, you mentioned IG stories, Instagram stories versus the feed. What about IGTV? Is there as much engagement with that, or it's all happening on stories?
I would say for now that stories is your best bet. The thing with IGTV is that you can have longer form content, which has a time and a place. But I don't think there's enough of an audience on Instagram TV just yet. And I'll ask you, do you spend time watching Instagram TV?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. So that's why when my clients ask, that's the question I put back to them. Yeah. Is that where you're hanging out? And they say no. And so I think there's something to that. I'm not saying that it couldn't grow into something, or even by the time this episode airs, that it could be a really important part of your strategy. Yeah. But I think, I try to stay nimble in my strategy, and kind of what I look at is, twofold. One, what do I like to do? And two, where are people hanging out? And so for me, I don't like Twitter. I don't tweet. So I don't do it. And so it's just off the table for me. I don't want to do it. Okay. But then I look at, okay, I do really love Instagram. And if I know, that most people are spending more time watching stories, and that's where I'm going to give my best foot forward, or my best face forward, if you will. Yeah. Because, and so I think even knowing, hey, if I only have so much time on Instagram a week, maybe that means I post less to my feed, but I can do more stories. So that's kind of how I, think through what my strategy is going to be.
Okay. Actually, I'll confess something, because what you asked me just made me realize something. So you're right. I don't spend a lot of time watching IGTV, but when I decided I wanted to start making videos on a more consistent basis, I decided to put them out on IGTV. And I'll admit, the reason I did it is exactly the reason you pointed out, is not many people are on there. And I did it because I was afraid, and I wanted to do it, but then I didn't really want people to to watch because I was just afraid because I was on camera as opposed to just my voice. I was like, okay, I'll put it on IGTV because not too many people are there and I can still say I'm doing video. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I am, I'm kind of known with my clients for saying, well, you're just going to have to get over that. And so like, I know that that's a fear and I, recognize that I was all, telling myself when I was working for my old company, Facebook Live had just come out. And so I wanted to help us, it's like, hey, let's do our very first, Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so terrified that 10 seconds in and my voice was shaking. You know, when you can hear your voice and it doesn't sound like your voice and then you get freaked out. I could hear that in my voice and I looked at the camera and I said, I can't. And I ran out of the shot. And then I was like, we have to delete that. We have to delete that. So when I say you just have to get over it, no, that's coming from a place of I had to get over it too.
Yeah.
No one likes the sound of their own voice or how they look on camera all the time. And you just have to just face your fear. And then once you start doing it, it's really fun and it becomes second nature.
Okay. All right. We'll have to talk about that offline. The other thing I wanted to ask with regard to Instagram stories is I know now you can save some, but then you're the only one who gets to see it. What if you're making all these stories and people aren't seeing them? What then? Is it just for naught?
What do you mean? Like when you make it and you could save it to your camera roll?
Well, no, because the stories only last 24 hours.
Right.
And so if you make a story and your audience isn't seeing what you're making because they're just missing it, say you don't know when to post so that you get maximum viewership, right. And then after 24 hours it's gone. So that effort, to me, I'm thinking that would be wasted efforts to have done that, and the people I want to see it didn't get to see it, and now it's gone. And yes, I know we can now save stories, but when you save them, isn't it only saved for you? It's not like you can replay them again for everyone else to see.
Yeah. So are you familiar with Instagram highlights?
I've seen it.
Yeah. So that's what that is. So, so that's a great point. So for me on my feed, if you were to tap over to my page, KDB Salmon, you would see I have some saved highlights because a lot of my stories are just like personal, funny things or just, nonsense from the day. And that doesn't need to live on past 24 hours. So I let that go. But there are some things like that I want people to see. And so I've created a couple highlights, one that says start here. And it's just, I recorded a series once, maybe even like a year ago at this point, where I said, hey, I'm Katie Salmon and this is what I do. Because I wanted to have a place for if someone landed on my page and they were a stranger to me, they would be, they would instantly become familiar with my face and my voice, and aware of what I do in the world. And then there's some other, stories that I've saved too. So a lot of my, more marketing focused content is going to be, teachings like on trends or tips. And so I save those to highlights as well. So if someone was specifically interested in Instagram tips, they could tap over to my highlight and watch, ad nauseum different stories of me over, the last year plus talking about Instagram tips. So that could be a good thing for you. So if you are, a product maker, so like I said, I work with shop owners and makers. So, a lot of my clients, we're in a gift giving season. And so we'll create, like gift guide highlights or like, bestsellers or things like that. So if somebody wanted a quick review of, Mother's Day gift guide or, things like that, then they could tap on that highlight and see what we've compiled over the last weeks for that category.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's very useful.
Yes.
I've seen highlights. I just didn't really know what they were.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you publish a story, you can go ahead and you can save it to a various highlights. So I like to tell people to think through the categories of what do you regularly talk about. Um, some people even do like they'll have a story or a highlight on like their dog or family or something like that it's just kind of fun. So I think highlights are a great way to kind of give a longer shelf life to your Instagram story content. But you'd be surprised, how many people I'll talk about something on my Instagram story and they'll say to me later, oh yeah, like I've talked to them in real life. And they'll be like, oh yeah, like you mentioned you love that movie on your Instagram story. And I think back, oh, that was weeks ago. But there's something about using your voice and your face, and it's more memorable than just scrolling, double tap, so I think it creates a much more intimate and meaningful connection than just here's a picture of my stuff. And so again, that's how you build a brand, because ultimately, what I tell my clients, like, again, tough love, like what you're making is not that special. Like there are so many people in the world. Yeah, it's just not. And even what I do for a living is not that special. There's a million of me's in the world, and there's a million people making jewelry or whatever you're making. And so your product is not that special, but you absolutely are. You are your own value proposition. And so when you show up and create a brand that is meaningful and on purpose, you give people a reason to choose you over someone else. Because if you're just, again, we're going back to our first point, because if you're just competing on product, you have a lot of competition there, but you have cornered the market on being yourself. And so that's why I'm just, really stress showing up as authentically and as often as you can.
Speaking about being different from everyone else, and if everyone else doing something similar or the same thing as you, and let's talk about what you offer.
Sure.
How are you different from other people who teach about social media marketing, or how to develop your presence on social media or digital marketing? As in, why pick you over someone else, or listen to what you're saying over the other person who's doing the same thing?
Well, that's a tough question. I mean, I think it just comes down to like, do you like me? And so I think that's why I show up as often as I can, just as Katie, because I know, because I'm a business owner, I know how really, really precious your business is to you. It's your baby. It's the thing that, keeps you up at night because you're just dreaming and you're excited, and it gets you up in the morning. And so if someone's going to invite me into their business to help them with their marketing, they have to really know me and they have to trust me. And so I think that it just comes to, down to, do you feel like you know me, and do you feel like you trust me? And I think there's a lot, one point of differentiation is there's a lot of coaches and people out there who teach marketing. A lot of them are focused on services and like how to grow your photography business or your wedding planning business. I specifically focus on selling stuff and how, the business of getting your product in the hand of someone else. And then another thing that I think irritates me about some, we'll call them gurus, is when people give very, very prescriptive and specific advice, like, saying, in order to beat the algorithm, you must post 3 times a day at these times, X, Y, and Z. And that irritates me to no end. And I would say, don't trust people like that, because they don't know. Like, unless you work at Facebook and developed the algorithm personally, they don't tell people that kind of stuff. That's like under lock and key. They tell you some, broad strokes things about, hey, if your post, generates lots of comments, we're going to show it to more people because we're in the business of engagement. That's true. And so, yeah, we can, talk about how to get your engagement up, but I'm not going to tell you, some really prescriptive thing like, post, then turn around 3 times and stand on your head, and then everyone in the world will see it. Like, that is so silly. So I don't trust people like that.
Yes, I've read those as well, and I'm like, and everybody says something different. It's like 3 to 4 times a day, 5 to 6 times a day. I'm like, when do you sleep? When do you work? When do you
Right. Like
actually work on your business?
no one has time for that. And the thing about social, especially when it comes to like, you know, that quantity question, which is a question everyone asks, you know, how many times a day should I
Yeah.
post? Um, it's really the answer is however many times you can post, you know, something of quality is how many times you should post on a regular basis. It's like kind of the question of like, what exercise is the best for you? And it's like, well, the answer is the one that you're going to do regularly is the best one.
Yeah.
And so if you can only honestly commit to posting 3, 4 times a week on Instagram, then that's right. You should do that.
Okay.
If you can honestly commit to doing it every day or, you know, maybe 10 times a week, then you should do that.
Okay.
But quality always matters above quantity, especially because, and that's where really we get a gift with the algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like to complain about the algorithm, and I understand that it can be irritating and frustrating. But it used to be you had to post on Instagram a ton because there's a chronological feed. And so if you wanted to show up, you had to post. Now the algorithm will show you a post that was posted 3 days ago because, you know, it got a ton of likes and comments and engagement.
Yes.
And so it really doesn't matter as much when you post or how often you post because posts live so much longer than they did before. And so I think that's a real benefit of having, you know, an algorithm like Instagram does.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. That makes so much sense. And one thing I found, which is, and this is not giving anybody advice, this is just something I noticed and I was like, maybe I could use this to my advantage, was if you haven't done anything on Instagram in a while, and I don't know how long a while is,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do something like you post something or you do a story or what have you, Instagram will tell people, hey, so and so just posted in a while. Have you gotten those before?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I don't know about on Instagram, but I know that that's sounding familiar to me on Facebook. Yeah, I would say I would say it's still better to show up as much as you can. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a dead ringer prescription that really we need to be following.
Yeah, that was going to be my lazy person's guide to Instagram is, well, just don't post for a while. Then when you do, it will tell everyone, hey, she just posted and it's been a while. But no, you're right. I mean, I completely agree with you. It's better to be consistent and more show up more often than not. Now, so I like that you've told us, you've really narrowed it down to something to focus on, because that makes it a lot less intimidating than saying, yeah, you should do social media. So we know, okay, now Instagram stories. Are there any tools? Now, I know there are some tools out on the market for automating social media marketing. Are there any in particular that you would recommend, or do you think it's better to show up in person and be there live and direct?
Yeah, so I think it's perfectly acceptable, and I think it's really smart, in fact, to plan your social content in advance.
Okay.
And so there's a few tools that I use for that, and it just comes down to preference. Planoly is one that will help you plan your Instagram feed, and another one that I use is Later. And what I like about both of those is that it will give you a preview of your feed, of your Instagram feed. So you can kind of drop and drag your photos to make, to create an aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
So you can preview like, oh, these two photos won't, they for some reason clash, and I want to actually separate them next to each other. So I think, that gives you more control to create, a true aesthetic. And so I use both of those. And both of those will auto publish to Instagram.
Okay. That was my next question. Okay.
Yeah. And so, with the paid version of Later, I don't know if you have to pay for Planoly to auto publish, but because I pay for Later, so I'm not sure. But it does auto publish, at least on the paid plan. And you can even go ahead and tag people in it. You can add your location, and it'll just publish right for you. So I think, once you have your system down, you can honestly sit down and, take a morning, and I mean like 3 to 4 hours. I mean, you could do it in less time, but if you're really going to just do a big batch, you can plan out a whole month, and just have it teed up and ready to go, and it'll just post. And then all that leaves you with is your stories. And even your stories, you can plan in advance. So an app that I'm loving using with one of my boutique clients right now is called Cut Story. And there's other similar apps. And all it does is, this is for a client we're in different cities, and she runs a brick and mortar gift shop. And so she will get on her phone and record, a minute and 30 seconds walking me through something. So it could be like how to style a mantle. And so she's doing some sort of tutorial. She sends that, 90-second video to me, and I use Cut Story to splice it up into 15-second clips. Which is, how long an Instagram story could be. And so then we just, pop, put them right up, and then there you go. And that's how, we're able to share a little bit longer form content as well. And it's so much easier for her rather than, if you're trying to record Instagram stories on your own, often it can, feel a little tedious and take a long time because you're pressing the record button. Then you have 15 seconds, and then you have to remember, oh, wait, where did I get cut off? And then I have to start again and again. Yeah. By just recording a video and then splicing it, it's a really smooth watching experience. You don't even notice when, one story has gone into the next because she's just talking, and showing you, her tutorial. So anyway, so those are the apps that, I use right now. And another one that's getting kind of popular is called Unfold. And that, I don't know how to describe it other than like you can put multiple photos in. It's like a layout app. So you could put multiple photos in one Instagram story kind of screen.
I've seen those.
Yeah, so that's an app called Unfold, and it's free. And Cut Story right now is like 99 cents, but honestly, it saves you so much time. It's worth every penny. So.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. These are really helpful. And I'm going to list these all in the show notes for this episode and have links to them if you want to go and check them out. I like the idea of at least planning your feed and being able to see how it looks. I always wondered how people can get their feeds to look a certain way, where I've seen some that look like one big picture, and I'm like, how in the world did they do that? But I'm guessing they must use tools now that you mention it.
Yeah, there's tools that can help you do that. But I think one tip, just, to have a more cohesive feed, there's a couple tips. One would be, if you're going to filter your photos, use the same filter every time. And so don't, because Instagram, you can either filter in Instagram, like using, the filters that they give you, or you can get some other photo editing app on your phone or on your computer to edit them in a similar way. But I think just simply editing them in a similar way will automatically give cohesion to the way that your feed looks. And another tip would be, if you to have like your own branded photo shoot. And so I've done that in the past where, I will, either have, pay someone to take photos of me and my brand. And so I have a collection of photos that I can share over time, or I just do it myself. And the benefit of that is you're taking all the photos on the same day and in the same light. So they automatically will have some visual cohesion versus, a photo that you took on a dark day versus a light day, and, things like that. And so, and that's another way that I like to batch my content, because something that can often hold me back from posting is, I don't have a picture. Because what I do is, especially for me, is I don't have a visual product. I, help people with ideas. Yeah. So Instagram is a visual medium. So the fact, just the fact that you're selling stuff, automatically you have, things to actually share. But anyway, so if you just, create kind of a stock photo library for yourself, then it'll be easier to go ahead and post because you won't be scrambling to find a photo.
Yeah. I think my Instagram account is a perfect case study for everything you don't want to do on your Instagram account. Like, use, like you said, you mentioned, use the same filter. I think I've tried every single filter that Instagram has just to see what it looks like and post it to my feed. So, and then, I've heard some people say, to keep it cohesive, always use the same fonts and all whatnot. But I'm like, well, today I like this font and tomorrow I like the other font. And so I want to use every font. But you're right. I can look at my feed and it looks not cohesive, to say the least. But so let's say there's someone else like me who's looking at their feed and realizes, okay, this is one hot, non-cohesive mess, but I just don't want to do this myself. What would working with you look like?
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, I, offer a couple levels of service, and I truly love coaching and helping people learn how to do it themselves. And so my coaching program looks like it's a 3 to 6 month one-on-one, I'll be your business best friend. And so we, talk in advance about what do we want to focus our time on each month. And so we get on, so we'll, kind of create an outline. Month 1, we're going to focus on social media. And now we're going to focus on email marketing, et cetera, et cetera. And so before we meet, I'll send you a workbook that'll help you start thinking about those concepts. And then we get on a Skype call for an hour and really dig, deep into, some training on how you're going to apply, your new and improved social media strategy. And then I use a project management tool called Asana. And so after we meet, I put all of our action steps on Asana so you know exactly what to work on throughout the month. And throughout the month, I'm available via email if you have any extra questions or follow-up, or just need additional support in cheerleading. So like I said, it's, a 3 to 6 month commitment of me being your business best friend to help you really do it yourself. And the reason I'm passionate about that is because for a lot of makers, they're not going to get to the point in their business where they ever hire a marketing person, whether that be part-time or full-time. For most people, they do it themselves. Even myself, like I do my own marketing because I'm not at a place where I'm going to outsource that. Right. So I do it myself. And I think that is the case for many, many business owners. So that's why I love empowering people to do it themselves. And that's important too, because once you feel confident about your strategy and your branding and your way of doing things, then it's easier to outsource. You hire a virtual assistant who you can pay, a pretty at an affordable rate to do your social for you, but you will have a better idea of, of a way to instruct him or her on what doing social for you looks like. Yeah. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Makes perfect sense. Okay. I was thinking about what you were saying, and you're right. And most people who will listen to our conversation probably will not be outsourcing their entire marketing department, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so I do like the idea of teaching and empowerment so that one can be able to do it. And then also, if need be, just piecemeal handing certain tasks off. Because sometimes, more often than not, we can't do everything ourselves. And so maybe there's a little, I shouldn't say little, but there's an aspect of running our business that is just better handled by someone else because our business will be just all the better for it. Are you able to take on some of those types of projects, freelancing, where, we might just say, okay, can you just help me take care of this or handle just this? And then we know, okay, that's taken care of. and I don't have to
Yeah,
think about it for
absolutely.
now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love doing that too. So it just, I can only, right now I'm a team of one,
Mm-hmm.
1.5. I have a virtual assistant, but, um, so it just depends on, so I can only take on a select number of clients at a time to manage their marketing for them. But I do have more flexibility to do, projects where it looks like, hey, I decided I want a Shopify site. And I think that's an example of
Right.
a project that, yes, you can, fully believe that you could build your own Shopify site, but I've also built a lot of them. And so I could do it pretty quick. And so maybe that's something that you say, it's worth it to me to spend the money to have someone else do it. So I know it's set up right. Another thing that is easy to learn, but maybe you don't want to take the time to learn it, is email marketing. That could be another thing that's more project based, or on a smaller scale that I think is outsourceable, if you will.
Okay, yes. And that's what I was thinking, because I know we've talked about this, and I know this is on the podcast in the past, and I know this is something that a lot of sellers do struggle with, is one, when it comes time to set up their e-commerce site, okay, now I have to turn my whole brain onto this. I can't really do anything else. Then there's email marketing. We all know we should be doing it, but again, do I have the time to just sit down and do this and, and learn it, or rather not, but figure it out along the way. So that's good to know.
Yeah. And with email marketing, there's a lot of things you can do, to automate the process. So you're not, so for instance, like a welcome sequence. So when somebody first signs up for your email list, that they would receive, a series of emails that you wrote just one time. So you just have to sit down and write the sequence and then set it up, and then it'll send forever and ever. And two tools that's work really well together are MailChimp and Shopify. And so you can set up automations like I've done for some brands before, like, a "We Miss You" campaign. So you can send an automation to somebody that hasn't bought from your shop in 6 months. So you offer them a small coupon or an incentive to come shop with you again. So that's an example of, really specific and highly relevant marketing that you create one time and you kind of set it and forget it. And of course, you go back and you look at stats and see if there's ways that you can improve on it. Yeah. But email marketing automation is really amazing, and there's a lot that you can do to put some of it on autopilot.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because Etsy recently launched a new feature that does that, where you can send automated emails to people for different reasons. So they have different, you can set them up for different with different triggers, I guess is the word. I don't know what the official word.
Yep, no,
is
that's
it called
right.
A trigger? Okay, yeah. So one is if they've favorited something in your shop, and then another one is if they put something from your shop in their cart but didn't go to checkout.
That's great.
And then, but of course, the ones we want are the ones who have actually bought from us, liked our product, and are really our customers. Because I don't know if we can really market on intention, but we can market to people who have actually turned into customers. And so that's good to know that there's a way we can continue to reach out to those people.
Sure. Have you set up those emails in Etsy yet and tried that out?
I have. And they have not resulted in any sales. So okay. I can track the stats in Etsy, and it shows how many of those emails have gone out to people how many people who favorited stuff got the email, and how many people bought, and then how many people who what's the other one? Who put
abandoned the cart.
Yes, thank you. Abandoned carts and got the emails. and Etsy is sending them, but nobody is actually going to check out. The only one they don't do is emails for people, past customers, which, like I said, I think would be more effective because I know sometimes you can market to someone who shows the intention of buying and turn them into a customer. So far for me, it hasn't happened. And I should just say I've only tried it for a month so far, and it's literally been 30 days today actually. And I know that's not a long time, but still. But I do feel like it might be easier to get repeat buyers than it is to get people who might just be window shopping. Because I've had people who've bought from me and said, oh, do you still have any more of this? I want this. Or are you able to get this if you don't have any right now? Or can you tell me when you have this? I want to get it again. And so those are easier sells than I'm just going to put this so that I can come back and look at it and decide if I want to actually buy it.
Right. Probably the most powerful one is of the two so Etsy's doing that because they don't want you to have their email address because it's Etsy's customer, it's not yours. Right. And so kind of one way around that would be to have some sort of message if, when you send, your package or, you're messaging your customer and you say, hi, thank you for your purchase. I'm really grateful for you. I would love to offer you 10% off your next purchase to my shop. So you could say, what I'm trying to say is you could offer them 10% off or some sort of small discount if you sign up for my email list and then give them a link to sign up. Yeah. And so you're giving them an incentive to sign up. So that's one way. But back to the automations, probably the most powerful one that you mentioned was the abandoned cart one, because that one demonstrates the most intention. Like they had it in their cart. They were so close. Yeah. So a lot of retailers will do some sort of small incentive or dangling carrot to make them complete the purchase. So you just have to ask yourself, what is it worth to me to save the purchase? So do you have the ability to customize what you say in your abandoned cart email?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So on MailChimp, you could say, and I work with, set these up for my clients. So we'll say, hey, get free shipping to complete your purchase, or, take 10% off, something that is meaningful, but small. But it's worth it to the retailer to save the sale.
Yeah. That is helpful. And I think you're just all the more driving home the point of, Etsy is great, and I wouldn't tell anyone, leave it because there's an audience there. Absolutely. But you want to be able to send them also to your own space so that they become your customers as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's really smart, and I advise clients who go from Etsy to Shopify to keep their Etsy shop open, because you're right. People make websites all the time, and it's, just because you press live on your website does not mean at all that you will be flooded with traffic. Yeah. But Etsy is flooded with traffic every day. So you want to be there.
Yeah. And more so now that they're putting ads on TV and
I know,
stepping it up.
I just saw, my first one the other day, and I just couldn't believe it.
I know.
Yeah. But again, so that's the thing, when I was telling you about my sister-in-law's gift, when she asked me where I got it, I'm going to say I got it from Etsy. I do not remember the person I bought it from. I couldn't tell you if I really, really tried. I just will say I got it on Etsy. Yeah. So Etsy is the brand in the transaction, not the maker who put their time and their heart into it. And I hate to say that, that's sad, but that's just kind of the reality of selling on someone else's platform.
Yeah. Oh. Kitty, this has been very, very educational.
Yeah, so fun.
A couple of things. One, where and how can someone listening connect with you? But before you tell us that, is there something you would like to leave that person listening who's now, the wheels are turning, they're getting some ideas? What's the next step they should take?
When I first meet a client and they are really excited and they're eager and they're ready to get started, often they'll, say like, okay, like when can we get, what kind of results can we get? And I understand that question. It's a very fair question. If I'm going to work with you, what kind of results are we going to get? But what I always say is marketing is like planting a garden. And so it is just faithfully putting one foot in the other, doing it, one foot in front of the other, doing the next right thing every day, again and again and again. And so there's no such thing as an overnight success. And so marketing is just like that. And so you're not going to post one Instagram post and get 10 sales probably if you're just starting out. It will take a lot of effort and little by little progress to add up into something really meaningful for your business. And so I would tell someone that's excited to not get easily discouraged by trying something and it not working right away. That's okay. I think it takes a lot. I know it takes a lot of little intentional efforts to make something meaningful happen when it comes to marketing. So if you're listening and you're excited, don't get discouraged.
Okay. Thank you so much. And yes, I know it can get discouraging sometimes. So thank you for that reassurance. If someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Sure. Yeah. So if you visit katiedoesmarketing.com, that's my homepage. But if you go to the website, katiedoesmarketing.com/EC podcast, I will have some resources and freebies there for you, just based on what we talked about, to help you take your next right steps on social media and beyond. And if you are on Instagram and you want to connect with me, that's my very favorite app. So I'd love to connect with you there at Katie B. Salmon. And Katie is spelled Katie. So I'd love to follow you back and connect with you there.
And is that Katie B like boy?
Yes, B as in boy.
Okay, all right. So I will link to Katie's website. Again, it's katiedoesmarketing.com, and the free resource that she's offering you, katiedoesmarketing.com/EC podcast. I will link to that as well. And
awesome.
Her account on Instagram, so you can check out what she's doing, follow her there, and connect with her.
Wonderful.
Katie, thank you so much for making marketing not seem as overwhelming as we sometimes feel like it is.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm glad that we were able to chat.
I am too. And I thank you for listening to the podcast. I will be back next week.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.